It's paradise. In one of the wealthiest cities in the country, not everyone has it so good.
I don't want you to not miss these roaches. Look at that. Look how I just, and it's barely stuff in here. Look how I can just shake my house and roaches everywhere. And this is what my children got to live in. Filth and these roaches.
The countertops are so infested with roaches because they're wood. So it doesn't matter how many things that you put down, roach combat, bat, nothing, anything. They're still infested in there from the water that leaks in there and it keeps it moist in there. Behind them walls, I bet you when you knock all these walls down, it's gonna look like the Creep Show.
I mean, I'm grateful for having a roof over my head, but we had a researcher here from New York. He was here for 4 days, and he said before he sleep in one of these apartments, he'll camp outside.
We knew mold was good. We could see it on the walls. We could see it, but I didn't realize the damaging effects it had. I was full of just congested, and my sinuses were just ruined, just destroyed, just messed up. I was really sick.
They just told me to keep the mildews clean, and every time I keep it clean, she don't get sick. But when they grow back, that's when my baby gets sick.
You know, people view us not being important enough to be concerned.
I think they should offer better to us, even though we're low income doesn't mean we're not people. You know what I mean? Our kids don't understand that we're low income. It's not their fault.
I'm 52 years old, and I've been in the project ever since I was born in the projects, and I never in my life have I seen it in such an uproar and so degraded. It's unexplainable. Somebody hear us. Help us.
These kids around here, if you show them something better and make them, they want to do better. But they don't. They just want to break it down because it's already broke down.
If one of them roaches go in my baby ear, what y'all gonna do?
The night before last, I woke up in the middle of the night and couldn't breathe. Roaches was in my nose.
Somebody really need to come in here that is really concerned about the residents and make an effort in doing the right thing. The right thing is having a decent, safe, quality house.
You know, from the streets, these projects, yeah, they seem okay. With grannies and aunties watching the children play while their moms and some dads, they are away working part-time for minimum pay. Unfit, condemned, or will be soon with moldy walls and roach infested rooms. This is their home, their prison, their cell. They're abandoned, forgotten in poverty's hell.
For years, the conditions at the Janie Poe Public Housing Project were deteriorating. With the exception of an occasional news article, soon forgotten, the 128 families there were largely ignored by the rest of the community. Then one day, 3 kids turn on the lights. Adrian and Patrick Ware, 11 and 12-year-old brother and sister, along with their 10-year-old brother Devin, make a home video of the deplorable conditions at Janie Po, where the Ware family had landed after falling on hard times. The 11-minute video shows roach infestation, black mold, and raw sewage bubbling up in the yards. There is black mold encroaching on the project's child care center. The video is shown on May 10th during a student film festival and captures the attention of local media and the public. Public housing is owned and operated by local public housing authorities, which are administered by the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, known as HUD. We contact HUD in its Tampa regional office on May 14, 2003. Have they seen the video? The HUD official says yes. Did they notice the raw sewage bubbling up in the yard where children are playing? Yes. Are they going to do anything? The HUD official says that is up to the local housing authority. For years, Valerie Bouchand has been trying to get someone to listen.
Under the last two executive directors, we have felt like we have been in slavery. And that's a cruel feeling. We as residents often has offered the board of the Housing Authority Commissions to come and just spend a day and a night or a weekend where they want us to live. The aggravation that they allow us to go through. Come and share our homes, and see what we go through. And then it's no longer, you don't have to hear us bickering about it. You'll have firsthand. But they laugh at us. Some of them have said, you didn't really think I was coming. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, I don't do anything for anybody that I wouldn't want done for me.
Janie Po is located on Central Avenue, 1 mile north of downtown Sarasota.
You don't see it from the outside. You really don't. You have to live there to see it. And I grew up in public housing. And I lived in public housing as a young single mother. I lived in public housing. So a lot of the conditions that are existing today were there.
Were they?
Then.
Is that?
It is 10 times worse than it was when I lived there. So when I went into the Ware's apartment, after 5 minutes, I had to come out and hit my asthma inhaler because of the mold. And the roaches, I think those are things that can be fixed now. I think they need to be fixed now because they're hazards, they're health hazards. Because, I mean, you're talking about people's lives that are being impacted, their health, and hence their lives that's being impacted by this. That mold is nasty stuff.
From loose and unsafe back doors and windows, again, to the mold. You can't just clean the mold off the ceiling and the floor because those spores are up in there. So you really just have to tear the thing down and get any of those resistant spores that are still there.
My baby got sick twice from the mildew. I had to rush to the hospital twice. She had got stomach virus from it, a lot of runs, high fever. She wouldn't eat for like a week or two.
The flooding and having to wait sometimes 2 days before someone would come in, and even then having to change your furniture, your clothes with that musty smell. It's just really deplorable conditions that these people have been living under.
Indeed, the Sarasota Housing Authority has been riddled with problems over the years. In a 1999 audit, the HUD Inspector General said that every Sarasota housing unit that was inspected failed to meet health and safety standards.
The Housing Authority, the last 4 years, they've had the most stability in executive directors, because over a 5-year period, one time they went through 7 executive directors, and you can't get but you can't, if you have no continuity in the leadership, what are you ever going to get done? And so things really slipped and fell through the cracks.
It took them a whole year to come out and get somebody to put this window in here. June of this year, this water would have been leaking for a whole year. They don't fix it, and they don't fix it, and they don't fix it, and it's still leaking.
But at one point, like the water in the tub was so messed up, water from the bathtub was leaking downstairs.
You know what, it might be, see them little round noodles in there? And that stuff right there. My next door neighbor on that side just washed her dish because she just fed her kids that same stuff right there. So evidently the water's coming out of both our apartments. She just washed her dishes. Her kids just ate those noodles.
You even got central air and heat, and it's so hot, and you gotta buy an air conditioner. It's just so humid, and I'm always cleaning because I'm always cleaning. I get so bored that I always gotta clean and do something. No matter. I don't care what you say, how you doing, care if you bomb it, put it, whatever. Them roaches just gonna come because the heat. They like that heat.
These buildings are made of what? Concrete. So in the inside they're hot like fire, you know what I'm saying? It takes a whole day. Like at night when it cools off, it takes till probably midnight before the walls cool down, you know what I mean? And it stays hot in there. You cook in your kitchen, you halfway die. Mm-hmm. I mean, you have to pay to have your air conditioners put in. That's like $50. Obviously, if you're low income, you can't afford $50, you know? And then it's $50 each air conditioner. It ain't like they'll put in all of them for $50 so you can be nice and cool. It's one. And you gotta choose upstairs or downstairs, you know what I mean? But I always rode by here, and I lived in Florida probably 15 years.
I rode by here all the time.
This is my first time ever living in here because I struggled on the outside paying $600 and $700 just rent alone, you know, trying to make it on the outside world. And I rode by here, and I was like, I would never want to live in there. I feel bad for the people that live in there because of how they have to live, you know what I mean? It's really, really sad. You have no rugs. They treat you like you're in jail. This is just like a jail cell. When you walk in there, you can count the bumps on the wall.
The documentary that was done by the children was a really good and blessed thing because I've been echoing the same thing for years. And they just pushed me aside. It's only Valerie. But it hasn't been just Valerie. And I've been telling them it's not just me. I'm coming telling y'all what the residents are saying to me. A lot of them won't come to meetings, but I constantly hear their complaints and their concerns. But, you know, they sit there and make these decisions. You have all wealthy people that were sitting on that board. How can they possibly know what we need, what our concerns is, and even have any feelings for us when they have not been there?
We've been complaining for years. I was in 2512, I was in 2227 with the complaint. We had other residents that made complaints over and over again, but not being prejudiced or nothing about the situation. But when Adrian, the white lady, came in and made the big thing, and her kids made the film and took it to school and stuff, it opened up everything, everywhere. It opened up a lot.
Since the student video, the media are paying more attention to the plight of Janie Poe. So is the Housing Authority of the City of Sarasota. They make some minor repairs at Janie Poe. They have meetings. The Sarasota Housing Authority doesn't seem too happy with all the attention.
I told you the other day, if you have me on camera, trust me, my attorney, and I'm going to tell you this, and I done told him already. You can hear what I'm saying. But I swear to God on my dead mother's grave, if I see myself on TV at any time, somebody gonna pay. And I told her already. And I told you the other day. Okay? All right. Or else I'll take the damn camera up and I'll bust them up. And then y'all can sue me for destruction of property.
Mia.
What I just wanted to know is...
Mia.
Is this running? I'm not going to be on camera, so if you're going to shut it off, then we can talk. You want to run the camera? I'm serious. I'm not going to be on the camera.
Okay. All right.
If we don't act and act quickly, Janie Poe is going to be condemned.
Right. We're not bad people because we live in here. We like to see it nice, too. We don't want to go in the house, and every time we leave our food on the counters, there's a million roaches in them. You know, you leave your drink on the table, you come back, and there's roaches all in your drink, and you know what I mean? It's not, you got big spiders crawling all over the walls, and you got mold that's just forming, making kids sick. There's a lot of people that have gotten sick in here, and then they take it like it's our fault. No, these buildings are condemned, and you're moving people in here, and that's not what you should be doing. We're not bad people because we're poor. You know what I'm saying? We're not bad people because we're poor.
Condemned or will be soon with moldy walls and roach infested rooms. This is their home, their prison, their cell. They're abandoned, forgotten, in poverty's hell.
Janie Poe was originally called Project Lane. It was one of two public housing complexes built in the early 1970s by the Sarasota Housing Authority. Project Lane was designed by Sarasota architects Roland Salou and Jack West.
But our concept was to build townhouses so that the individual family would have its own unit. The mother, and as you know, there aren't many fathers, the mother would be able to view her small children from the kitchen on both sides. Because we were very, very much restricted in terms of what the cost would be, these restrictions having been set up by the Congress, we could have only so many bathrooms, such and such a size of units, and the cost was prohibitively low, the budget prohibitively low. But working within those restrictions, we chose to build a fireproof project, precast, pre-stressed concrete floors and roof, masonry walls, actually some actual real brick, and the concept was the kind of garden apartments that you might expect to find in any kind of middle-income housing project.
In the early days, the project was in demand, a sought-after place to live.
It was nice. Everybody had trees and shrubberies. They had shrubberies like bushes. They had nice shrubberies in the yard, and they even had like cut out a little section, you know, where they had like little plants in them. It was, I mean, they did it nicely. It was real nice to move there. We was proud to be living here.
Sure was.
Everybody was proud.
This is a picture of Janie Poe too. Right here, let's get ready to go to church, yeah. That's old too. This is on that side too. Where I lived over there. This is really an old picture of Janie Poe, cause this is her mom here. And she couldn't have been, she might have been 16. That's your mama, child. How old your mama?
In the mid-1980s, the residents voted to rename Project Lane after Janie Poe, a beloved math teacher. During the 1940s and 50s, Janie Poe taught geometry and trigonometry in her house because the school board did not think advanced math was necessary for black students.
She was my 8th grade homeroom teacher at Booker High School, and 8th or 9th grade. And she had been in the school system 40 years then, I think. You know. And let me see, I remember she lived across town on Central. And she was a good teacher. She was a good teacher.
Well, oh, she was some kind of teacher.
What?
She was some kind of teacher. She was really good. They started integration in 68, because 67 I was in 7th grade and I was at Booker High. And I couldn't wait to be a part of her class, because they was always saying she'll make sure she keep you in line, and she just spank you, you ain't had to worry about, she gonna make you learn.
She was strictly by the book. She wanted us to do it right the first time.
She was kind, but she was a strict teacher.
If you didn't do it right the first time, she had a ruler. She kept you across them knuckles. You get that right now. You better get it right before you leave. You wasn't leaving that class until you got it right. She was a really good stepping stone, milestone for us. Really good, because she was fair about everything.
Don't blame.
She wanted you to learn it and had it instilled into you that you would never forget what she taught you.
Janie Poe retired in 1970 after 46 years of teaching, 23 in Sarasota schools, where she was chair of the math department at Booker High School.
So what kind of car she had?
That was
One is a white.
It was a little old Ford, 50-something. She would drive like...
I said a Rambler. I don't know what it was.
It might have been a Rambler, but she would be driving like 5 miles an hour. 5, there go Miss Poe. Cars be lining up, blowing the horn. She drive like nobody on the street. Miss Poe make you shiver, shaking your shoes.
By the 1970s, public housing projects throughout the country were deteriorating. Little new housing was built after the early 1980s, and there were massive backlogs in funds for maintenance and upkeep. Since 1993, the National Low Income Housing Coalition estimates a cumulative funding shortage of $16.7 billion. In 2004, the Bush administration made deeper cuts in funds for public housing.
The origin of public housing came from, I think, a good heart and caring, but there was never really quite the funding there. It was a little bit more about regulating the poor, and I think there's scholarship that sort of speaks to that issue. And so, it never really got off on a good foot. The sense of urban design and the, urban redevelopment, it's really fraught with, in hindsight, some mistakes were made, certainly. And I think no different in the city of Sarasota.
Janie Poe died in 1984. She would never witness the worst of the decline of the project that bore her name.
What do you think that Janie
Tiffany know how to do it.
How do
you think she
You heard about that? I was thinking about that.
She know if all these problems in here, she would want to redo it all over again. Like I said, she was a right woman. Everything had to be right, put in place. This way here, like the lamp or the rug. No, it's nothing supposed to be out of place. Everything's in place, and that's how she lived her life.
These names on these streets didn't just come out of a book. They are names of people that have struggled and strive for the rights of the people.
As Sarasota got bigger and swankier, Janie Poe became a slum.
First thing that we did was to set up a field trip with the Housing Authority and the City Commission on a bus to look at potential sites. Now, this is not the first low-rent housing project built in this country or elsewhere, and we already knew a great deal about the pitfalls and the potentials of such a project. And we were aware, and we made the City Commission and the Housing Authority very much aware that if a site, and this is nothing new, if a site were chosen in the middle of the black community. No matter how beautiful the buildings, it would probably end up being a ghetto. And we thought we had them convinced. And we found a site outside of the black community in which we proposed single-family houses, because the history of low-rent housing has been that it's fraught with problems. There seemed to be fewer problems when there were individual dwellings. A site was chosen and verbally approved by the Housing Authority and the City Commission on the bus. And then the next thing we knew, we read in the newspaper that the site had been dropped, and we learned that the mayor's father lived within 1 block of it, and 2 sites had been chosen exactly where they should not be inside the black community.
Janie Poe was built in a part of town that has been racially segregated since its beginnings. As early as the 1890s, African Americans settled north of downtown Sarasota in an area known as Black Bottom, later renamed Overtown. The community here has a long history and strong roots.
I'm 49. I'm one of the first Black 11 families in Sarasota, the Mays family, and oh boy, I've been here all my life.
One of Doris May's ancestors, Carpenter John Mays, built the first church.
I have a map that goes back to 1924 for Sarasota, which actually showed that when Sarasota was initially in its formative stages, it shows the dividing line to be Fruitville Road, and that the area that is currently Newtown was designated as the colored neighborhood with the colored high school and colored housing. So it goes further back than 1968 that there was deliberately a segregated section that was designed for African Americans.
In June 2004, congressional candidate Jan Schneider wrote,
"According to 2000 census data, Sarasota County remains one of the most segregated in the entire country in housing terms."
I mean, I moved here 6 years ago, and I felt like I had gone through a time warp back to 1950.
I think, we have a history in Sarasota of it being a segregated community. Public housing has been out of sight, out of mind, not only figuratively, literally, and I think as a result of that, we just haven't paid the attention to it that we needed to.
I think that the fact that it impacts a racial minority in a disparate fashion is a result of historic discrimination that resulted in racial concentration. I think that these residents would be mistreated regardless of their race, however, because there's also a added layer of economic discrimination. Economic class. We treat poor people in this country differently than we treat other people.
If it was intended for everybody to make a lot of money, the Lord wouldn't have never touched the government's heart for the government to provide housing for those that don't make as much. But I don't think God intended for them to do us like they're doing us, because we don't have. We are penalized because we don't have. And the world was not set up like that, because somebody got to work. Everybody can't be an executive. Everybody can't be a secretary. Somebody have to make them look good.
They're abandoned, forgotten, in poverty's hell. They are unseen, or mostly ignored. At the Grand Hotel with the fancy doors, they clean your bathrooms and vacuum the floor and bring fresh towels when you ask for more.
The Housing Authority has a plan. They go after a $20 million federal grant that promises to finally fix Janie Poe. The grant is called Hope 6. This federal program provides money to communities to demolish or rehabilitate severely distressed old projects like Janie Poe and replace them with a mixture of new public housing and private homes. The Housing Authority of Sarasota has tried 3 times in the past 7 years to get a Hope 6 grant. All applications failed. This is the 4th try. They pay $264,000 to Perkins Eastman, a Pittsburgh consulting firm, to design the project and help with the application. They spend another $172,000 for other related expenses.
Working hard with heart and a helping hand, and when they come home, the reward they see is the place of faith and family. A home on a bluff with flowers and trees in a city that's safe for my family and me. To a special place where my friends can see we can all really live our American dream. We can all really live our American dream.
I'm so grateful to Dr. James when he took me to the Janie Poe complex and he showed me where children live and work and play, and there was raw sewage after rains, there was black mold, there was rampant rodent and insect infestation in homes. And it's unconscionable because this community, unlike any other community, I don't know another community in America like this that steps up to the plate, not only for cultural and quality of life issues, but for social services. It's a very, very generous community once they know. It's absolutely crucial that Sarasota gets the Hope 6 grant this year.
The plan is that Janie Poe is demolished and it's replaced with new units, not only on the site but also in and around the community.
The ideal of Hope 6 is to move residents to new public housing units or help them qualify for private housing. It sounds like a great idea.
There's many issues here and the residents are not really able to get their mind around all of this. They see the glittering lights of housing that doesn't have cockroaches and mold. And I can understand that. I really can. Each unit of public housing in Janie Poe is a place for a homeless family, for whatever reason they're homeless, to move into. Folks who have housing don't move into the projects. So they're homeless before they move into the projects.
The Housing Authority holds resident meetings, saying they want to involve the residents in the decision-making. At one meeting, Hope 6 consultants involve residents by asking them to choose their dream house.
Have 2 photos of 2 different types of houses on each slide. All I want you to do is raise your hand if you like A, raise your hand if you like B. 2 examples of apartment buildings here, A and B. Who likes A? Now this has more to do with which kind of street you'd like to live on. Would you like to be on a street that is more of a standard residential, or would you like to live on a street that has a planting strip down the middle? Who would go into A? 2. Who would go into B? Who would go into A? Who would go into B? Some folks might like a townhouse unit where they've got a little yard that they only have to take care of, a little bit. Some folks might want a house with a big yard. Raise your hand. Do you want A?
A. I like A.
Okay, everybody raise their hand who wants A.
You're not gonna be able to afford it. Like he said.
Why you want to put washer and dryers upstairs?
Washer, dryer, a master bathroom, 3 bedrooms. You think I'm gonna be able to afford that? I ain't gonna be able to afford that. And nobody here is gonna be able. They say it's gonna waste some units. Some of the units are gonna be, you know, this kind of type or this kind of type, or it's gonna be low income. You really think there's gonna be a low income unit that is worth almost $500,000 and they're gonna give it to me for $150 that I pay rent? I don't think so.
It's something that's not right about this whole thing. People are getting their hands greased. They're getting money. They've been made promises. And we don't matter at this point. All they want to do is build up. Are we really, are they really concerned about us? Or is it the builders, the big builders that's coming in, concerned about themselves, concerned about their group of society? You know, because we don't fit in. So now they want to tear up our community to build a new community, which won't be ours. Tear down that have been here for many, many, many years and put new stuff there, but then the white man gonna own it. We can't own it. Those that have businesses, been there for 50, 60, 70 years, yet they want to take that, tear it down, instead of helping them raise it.
I have never been a huge proponent of Hope 6 because I believe that it is a mechanism to displace people out of their community. What it really does is it only brings back about a third of the very poor people into whatever gets rebuilt. So then 2/3 of the rest of the residents are displaced, and you give up your neighbors, your local school, whatever you're accustomed to.
Give up your whole living, your whole life. But what was the amount of money that you would have had to be making
it goes
before
up.
you was able to come back here?
Because
it keeps moving up.
Exactly, because the houses would be new, you know, low income as the city as a whole is not what we know
As
low
low
income.
income, right.
So therefore we automatically knocked out.
You're
many
already
of us.
below
That's what
that.
I'm saying. Exactly.
You're already below that line.
A study of Hope 6 projects throughout the country shows when public housing is replaced by mixed income housing, the result is a net loss of housing units for the poor. The very poorest families are often the most displaced.
We sit on prime property. All they want, they done built on top of downtown. Now they want to build here. They want to bring New York, Philadelphia, all of those places here in Sarasota, you know, to flush us out. They don't care where we go.
They just want the land, really. They want the land, really.
Look at the growth and expansion of Sarasota. Look at Sarasota back in 1970 when they first built them. And look what has been built around the Janie Poe housing project. From the Ringling School of Art and Design to these multi-million-dollar bayfront homes. You have the airport nearby. You have USF New College nearby. Look at your proximity now to downtown that's being built. Okay, also, this is high ground. If you have flooding in Sarasota, you don't flood up here in Newtown. So Newtown is prime real estate.
In 2003, the Janie Poe property was valued at $5.5 million. A few blocks from Janie Poe is a project called Cohen Way. The sister project to Janie Poe, Cohen Way was built during the same years with similar design. The Sarasota Housing Authority is completely gutting and renovating Cohen Way. The Cohen Way renovation is aimed at removing an eyesore from a newly trendy neighborhood in North Sarasota. The plan is to give public housing tenants a chance to own a home. But financial, credit, and debt problems prevented most public housing tenants from qualifying for mortgages. Chris Fortney and her husband, former Cohen Way tenants, bought a condo at Rosemary Park. They have 4 children.
So we've been in the projects for 8 years, maybe a little bit longer than that. There's only 2 of us from the projects, from the Housing Authority, or whatever you call public housing. Right. In here.
So far, they are the only Cohen Way tenants to buy one of these condos. The new condos are for low income, defined as families earning under $42,700 a year. Condos sell for $42,000 to $77,000. Public housing residents earn $8,000 a year. Still, Hope 6 seems like the best chance for the families at Janie Poe.
In the cycle of living with little or less, under the specter of homelessness, from mother to child, desperation is past, and the fate of their fatherless children is cast. They're unfit, condemned, or will be soon, yeah, within moldy walls and roach-infested rooms. This is their fate, yes, their prison, their cells. They're abandoned, forgotten, in poverty's hell. They're abandoned, forgotten, poverty's
Manager pointed out, we want you to understand what happened, answer all of your questions, get all the questions out of the way, so they won't have to come up again.
We're not here to bury Hope 6. We're here to revitalize North Sarasota and to revitalize public housing in North Sarasota. That effort didn't die with the Hope 6 grant. We want everybody to walk out of here today understanding what happens next with the Janie Poe project.
Demolition. And that means that the property, HUD will go back and say yes or no to the idea that there will be a demolition request. If they approve that demolition request, we move forward with the demolition.
So you're saying there's no way of saving Janie Poe? We can't go through it and gut it out and redo it over no kind of way? There's no way to save Janie Poe?
First of all, remodeling, there are no dollars out there for remodeling Janie Poe. If everything fell into place, number one, we get the demolition application approved, we get demolition grant, we go and get housing assistance for families to relocate. All those things have to be in place. And then we have a phased program. But, as it says, no demo until relocation is complete.
So you got money, getting this money for the demolition to tear this down. You know y'all are coming through here and just done hurt us so bad, and you still hurt us, Rudy. You need to realize this here. I mean, stop stop and come tell us the truth. Let us know what's going to happen. We're tired of being on the edge.
That's what we're doing here tonight.
Let us know, man.
We don't know what to do beneath.
Well, if
That's the word.
the demolition come about, will the housing authority give letters to the residents assuring them that they would be able to come back on this site? Can we get it in writing before any demolition takes place? I ask for a guarantee from the housing authority.
There is not going to be any guarantees in regards to numbers because we don't know how many units are going to be placed on them with the development program.
Why should they move out? There ain't no guarantee.
Guarantee of what?
Guarantee. Why should they move out?
There's no guarantees.
No guarantee.
Right. In public housing, and there's no guarantee in Section 8 housing.
What happens again if the land is sold to a private investor?
And what I'm asking is what we're discussing today, this demolition grant, are you asking, are we in
So
favor of
demolition
it, or are
application,
you just
because
letting
grant's
us
different.
know that you're gonna do it, or are you asking, are we in favor? That's what I'm trying to say.
Right.
What are you doing, asking, are we in
We're
favor?
asking for your response and comment.
Oh, okay.
Whether or not that you want us or want the board, we're consulting with you now, giving as much information as we have now, and you will then have the opportunity to submit your written request or comment to the board for their consideration before they take action on this.
Okay.
I wonder if you say that you don't want to go or you don't want whatever.
Right.
Those are the comments that the board is going to evaluate with all the other things that they have to consider in regards to what are we going to do for you here, the families here at Janie Poe.
Can they override their decision not to have it?
They're not going to override the decision in the sense that they have to take into consideration. Can they override it? Yes, they can override it. They can make the decision. They are the responsible party to move forward or not.
We can give all the names that we want, but the board makes the final decision.
But that's their responsibility.
First of all, people donated this land just for poor people to have somewhere to live. Okay, so, it's not all about you, the housing authority. It's about the people too. Now, we're talking about a demolition grant, but at the same token, you can demolish half of this and build or whatever, and people live in the other half. But it appears that y'all goal is to move all of us out and take what we have.
That's it.
They keep telling us to move forward, but they need to move forward and remove root advancement, And then, because they have not shown us anything wherein we can trust them. Everything we ask of them, they can't do.
We have to be sure that when we rebuild at Janie Poe, that we don't overbuild to the extent that the only people that can afford to live there are the people that are middle income and above, because that's the big fear here, that people are going to be moved out of their neighborhood and never allowed to come back home.
They're trying to push the black people further back so that, because we're right here by the beach, you don't want to be, this is the tourist place in the world, Florida, the beaches, right? We can smell the beach from here sometimes. We're too close to where, all the tourists and all that have to see. Nobody don't want to be snapping pictures of a dirty, broken down ghetto. Right? 2 blocks from the Ringling School of Art where it's nice. Everything down along 41 is nice as you get closer to that beach. We are the start point from that beach. They're going to have us all out there on I-75 for October.
Just to redo this place for the rich and famous, I just can't see it. I mean, we should be part of this.
As angry as they are, they still pray for the board and its executive director, Rudy Vasmina.
In the name of Jesus, bless us all. Bless the executive directors, Lord God. Bless the staff, Lord. Lord God, move by your spirit. And we thank you for the victory right now. Whatever it may be, we say thank you and we appreciate you for all things. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Amen.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Valerie. You're so welcome.
Officials from the Washington, D.C. and Tampa offices of HUD come to Sarasota. Assistant Housing Secretary Michael Liu goes to Janie Poe. It has been 15 months since the student video. More than 4 years since Valerie Bouchand has been trying to get someone to care.
Maybe just increase it.
Pushing the
process. Oh, yeah. Rudy, are there supposed to be screens on these windows?
Yes.
The screens were original in the unit.
Yeah. But a lot of them don't have.
They don't stay in. You know, the first ones y'all had, they hard to stay in.
What happened to
them? I really don't know.
It says that drain line, condensation line, where the drain line, instead of falling into a bucket or retainer, is just going to fall to the ground, and if it's not taken care of, this is the result.
But I mean, what's your policy? I mean, all of them are set up that way, and you know, obviously there are problems on almost every single one of these. They're falling down. You got this water and everything. I mean, do you guys have some kind of plan to try and mitigate this for everybody, or you just have left it this way, like for?
Well, no, because again, the water has to, the condensation line has to draw out from the building, so it's either inside or outside.
I understand that, but I mean, there are ways to mitigate that. I mean, to either plan to help everybody do the right thing rather than just let it be. That other house that we're waiting for, the water was just draining, was falling apart. You got these air conditioners with these built-up frames, mold coming here. I mean, I don't know, that's kind of basic stuff.
Executive Director Rudy Vasmina appears to be interested in making improvements. In one apartment, he promises to help a mother with a wasp infestation in her children's bedroom.
All over the house, upstairs, downstairs, every closet. I think it's one coming up there now, on top of there, a little one. You know, he spraying, but it comes back, and I don't know why. It comes back.
I'm not totally happy with what I see, and I have concerns. I've seen public housing all across the country, some similar in style and construction, and they're in wonderful shape. And people take care of the units, the management is very responsive to needs, and you have very healthy communities. There's no reason why that can't be the same way here.
All before it's just been what the board and the housing authority say and the papers that they fill out and send in. But the real issues had never been dealt with. And I've been trying for so many years to get the real issues dealt with. And now, by the grace of God, they're on the table.
In the weeks following HUD's visit, Janie Poe is abuzz with attention. Moldy porches are washed down and grounds are tended. The Housing Authority spends $40,000 on tree trimming and more on other exterior improvements. But inside the apartments, little has changed. Remember Kiana Tyler with the wasp's nests? 5 weeks later, we went back to her apartment to see if anything was done. Mr. Vasmina said he would take care of the wasp's nests in the closet.
Yes.
What happened after that?
It's still there. Everything is still the same. They haven't came in and fixed the cabinets. They haven't fixed the pipes. I mean, where I got broken pipes. So I actually, like in my kids' room where the big wasp nest is, I put the dresser there and the TV and closed it so the kids won't go in there. But you see wasps sometimes fly around the house and stuff. I woke up too, like yesterday, last night, I had a head full of spiders in my head. I had to run in, take a shower, wash them out. You know, that's why I have to keep my kids' hair every day. You know, and these right here, I braid their hair up. But you know what, with these spiders, because the way I comb and do my hair every day, I put in, do my hair, it doesn't matter. It does, and I do their hair at least once a week, maybe twice a week, in those there, and spiders in our heads.
What Kiana did get from the Housing Authority was a pre-eviction letter demanding she fix up her apartment or get out.
They wrote me up for clutter, my bathroom, and then we thought they was actually coming in to check for the maintenance problems, because that's what we got a letter for, that they was coming in to check for the maintenance, but they didn't come in and really check for the maintenance. They came up to see how you was keeping your house, basically, and make sure that the clothes in your closet are your clothes and the kids' clothes and things like that, but they're not trying to fix anything or,
Angela Bellamy, who directs a program to help single mothers at Janie Poe, also got a notice.
I'm just appalled and I'm hurt and I'm shocked from what went on. This is my home, honestly, how it looked. I was cited for, actually evicted for a 30-day curable eviction, for not having a bucket under my air conditioner, for not have on this one, in the second bedroom, not have a facing, to clean my stove, and for infestation of visible roaches, please clean my unit. If you saw infestation of visible roaches, clean my unit, you would think I was filthy, and I'm not filthy. When I get paid tomorrow, I'll go out and I'll buy new aluminum things, but they're clean. They're just kind of old. This one is a newer. Yes, it's very hurtful.
4 years, I think it looks good. It's not run down.
I do set traps. I've got one here. I have two over here.
I have them around
As you
too,
go
and it
upstairs,
don't
you'll see them in my bathroom. I have Raid.
When they come to exterminate, they was just spraying around here, in the kitchen and the bathroom. They wasn't spraying the whole house, because the contract that the Housing Authority usually get is they just want to do bare minimum, so they pay them a little money. Right. And all they do is feed the roaches, and they get worse. If they would come in and really exterminate, the roaches would not be as bad.
Absolutely.
Probably wouldn't be in some cases. Yes, housekeeping has a part to play, but they have fed the roaches, so they run from one apartment to the next because they go through cracks.
For the money that they're going to use to tear the places down and make us all homeless, could be easily used to fix the plumbing. And the plumbing is the entire problem. There is no reason why some place that's made out of cinder block should have black mold in it unless there's something wrong with the water or the plumbing, And on my walls, you can see where water gets underneath the paint. Well, that paint buildup, how easy is that to fix? You come in, strip, and you do it again. Across the way over here, I don't know her name, but her son's name is Kurt. She keeps a beautiful house. A beautiful house. I don't see bugs in her house, but I know at nighttime she complains about the bugs in her house. But that right there, that just comes right down to what? The plumbing.
And the way that they treat us is just so unfair. But no one wants to talk about discrimination. It's a discrimination, not against white and black, but poor and rich. It's a discrimination, and nobody should have to go through that. But it's okay because we don't pay $700, $800 for rent, but we pay what we can.
Right.
We make an honest living.
Right.
So we shouldn't be penalized for that we are able to do. It's a discrimination. But they just don't want to look at it because they want to make believe Sarasota is the ideal place. But Sarasota is one of the most racist places I ever seen in my life because, it's not fair.
They don't like us. So what we got? We don't have nothing. The frost out of here, we're going to be in the street. How many families are going to be here in the street? Whole Janie Poe.
You would think that they went to a movie school or somewhere because they can look straight at you and tell you what you want to hear and don't crack a smile or nothing. So I don't know. The only way I know is to tell the truth, to tell it like it is. So I haven't learned how to lie with a straight face. It's great. It's great. I just don't know. Well.
Commissioner Harvick?
Yes.
Commissioner Roberts?
Yes.
Commissioner Thorpe?
Yes.
Vice Chair Redding?
Yes.
Chair Campbell?
So I'm going to vote in favor of it.
Commissioner Black?
Yes.
So resolution 04-44 has been approved unanimously. Let the record reflect that the Housing Authority is moving forward. Let the record reflect that the Housing Authority has made a decision concerning Jamie Poe.
It makes me so mad. It makes me so mad, and that I'm sitting here waiting, you know. It's like, what day am I gonna get thrown out, you know? What's gonna happen to me? What am I gonna do with my kids, you know? And nobody will answer me. Nobody will tell me nothing.
What happened to Janie Poe? How did it get so bad? Why was it so long forgotten? And why is it taking so long to fix?
I just think it's a moral imperative as human beings that we take care of those that are in need. And that's, in a nutshell, my feeling in that regard. We've been saying it's the housing, sure it's in the city, but it's the housing authority's issue. And outside of making appointments as a commission to the Housing Authority Board, we get to wash our hands of it. And I think we've made a commitment now that we're not going to do that. I think there's a lot the city can do. We can bring dollars forward and resources forward. We can bring some staff expertise forward. And we can just basically provide the oversight in partnership with the Housing Authority to do it right and to get it right and to address and alleviate some of the concerns of the residents. We want to make sure we're a community for those that are down in their luck through no fault of their own, that want to get back up and become a constructive member of society and for their families and such. We want to be a community that provides all those services for them to do that, that provides every helping hand necessary to do that.
Nobody's adopted Janie Poe. No Rotary Club, no Elks Club, no Junior League, no government entity, no private business. Nobody's coming in there and making sure that those children don't sleep with roaches crawling over their face.
So you can make excuses why adults haven't made it, why adults haven't been able to stand up on their own 2 feet, for whatever reason. But when it comes to children, you have a hard time justifying why you are allowing children to live in those kind of conditions.
What is teaching them is that it's okay to live like this. But what they're seeing is people continually to step on us. They're seeing that people with money have power. So what that's saying to them, I don't have a job, so let me go and sell drugs. Let me go and do something that I can make a lot of money. That's what it's teaching the little children.
This is like an area that sucks you into nothing but negativeness because we don't have anything positive really to look forward to, And it's like it sucks all the kids down into negativeness too because they watch their mom struggle, and it's not their fault or anybody else's fault that their mom is struggling, but they watch, and then that's all they see. And no matter how hard your mom's trying, it's still not working. What do you think they're gonna do in life? They're gonna try and not work.
It's the children that suffer. No one should suffer. This is America. This is the land of the free. There should be no child suffering anything in here. Nothing.
I have a lot to pray about.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me.
home. I've had it worse. It's the best I know. At 7, I was left on the streets to roam with blankets of paper and mattress of stone. Don't tear it down, it is my home. It houses my children and all that I own. We'd be scattered through the wind, most everyone I know, homeless again. Where will we go? It's my place, it's not a lot. It's cold when it's cold and hot when it's hot. Hand-me-down chairs and old carpet and those cots. Some pictures on the wall are all that I've got. Don't tear it down, it is my home. It houses my children and all that I own. We'd be scattered to the wind, most everyone I know, homeless again. Where will we go? As you drive by, take more than a glance. Don't care how good you got it, there's always a chance. No matter how well your best plans are laid, your luck can run out and your fortune will fade. Don't tear it down, it is my home. It houses my children and all that I own. We'd be scattered to the wind, most everyone I know, homeless again. Where will we go? Don't tear